Millionaire CEO discovered a touching truth when a little girl whispered, "Everyone has a home, even if it's not a house." Jack Thompson swept through the rain-slicked streets of downtown, his expensive shoes splashing through puddles that seemed to mirror the storms raging in his heart. A self-made millionaire, the CEO of a booming tech company, he had it all: success at his fingertips, a high-rise office, and a car that gleamed as if it had just come out of the showroom. Yet, in the midst of it all, he felt a gnawing emptiness, an echoing absence of home. He was haunted by what he had left behind, a family that now felt more like a distant dream. On that dreary evening, Jack was lost in thoughts about quarterly reports and stock prices. The downpour matched his mood, heavy and relentless. It was then that he stumbled upon Mia, a spirited little girl in a tattered raincoat, laughing as she jumped from puddle to puddle like a joyful burst of sunshine in his gray world. "Everyone has a home, even if it's not a house," she whispered as she looked up at him, her big brown eyes sparkling against the dreary backdrop. Her words pierced through Jack's corporate armor, igniting a flicker of curiosity and confusion inside him. As he paused, drawn into her world, she spoke of her family, whose life had turned upside down after her father lost his job. With a wisdom that belied her years, Mia described how they relied on their tight-knit community, sharing meals, lending each other warmth and support, overcoming their struggles together. Jack, who had always measured success in bank balances, suddenly felt the weight of the stark economic divide separating him from her world. Mia's laughter reverberated in his mind, chipping away at the cold fortress he had built around himself. As they exchanged words amidst the steady rhythm of the rain, he felt a warmth growing in his chest, a sensation he had long forgotten. Inspired but conflicted, Jack realized he had to act. There was a way to bridge the chasm between their worlds. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a resolve fueled by Mia's enduring spirit, Jack began to put plans into motion. He envisioned a school and community center, a sanctuary built from resources he could rally to foster self-reliance and compassion. As he pitched the idea to his elite peers, their scoffs still echoed in his mind, questioning the value of investing in lost causes. The pressure mounted, pulling at the seams of his corporate identity. In a moment of clarity, Jack recognized the true riches lay not in profits, but in the connections he could build. He started to mobilize resources, feeling the spark of urgency igniting deeper within him. But as he unveiled his initiative, pushback intensified around him. Is it worth it? He wondered, his heart racing against the weight of doubt. But Mia's face, hopeful and resilient, pushed him forward. Then, just as he began to feel the tide of change, Jack received an unexpected call from his estranged family. A reunion he had long avoided loomed on the horizon, filled with painful memories and unspoken love. As he walked toward their home, he felt a tightness in his chest, the past pulling him back while the future urged him on. Would he find redemption not only for himself, but also for a community so eagerly waiting for someone to believe in them? The weight of that question loomed as he stood at the door, ready to face the consequences of his choices. Jack took a deep breath, his heart pounding as he raised his hand to knock on the door. Memories flooded his mind: birthdays, family dinners, laughter shared over games that seemed a lifetime ago. Each time his hand hovered, uncertainty coursed through him. Would they welcome him? Would they see him as the man he had become, far removed from the boy they once knew? The door swung open, revealing his younger sister, Emily. Her eyes widened in shock. "Jack." There was a moment, just a heartbeat, before her face transformed into something like joy, mixed with a hint of disbelief. "Hey, Em." His voice was barely a whisper, caught between longing and fear. She stepped aside, a tentative invitation, and he entered the warmth of a home that felt both familiar and foreign. Their mother appeared next, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel, her expression stitched with surprise and worry. "Jack, we didn't expect to see you, I know," he replied, feeling the weight of every unspoken word crowded in the air. But there was no escape now. His family stood before him, and he was here to confront not only them, but also the shadows of his past. As they settled around the dinner table, the aroma of baked chicken and roasted vegetables hung in the air. Discomfort fizzled just under the surface of their conversation. Each question, each nervous laugh, felt like stepping on fragile ground. He watched Emily pick at her food, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing within. "Do you remember when you used to come home just to annoy me?" she asked, breaking the silence with a playful nudge, her smile revealing the fondness of shared history. "Yeah," he chuckled, though it felt bittersweet. "The good old days, huh?" His mother quietly observed, processing the scene with mix of hope and apprehension. "Jack," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "we thought you forgot about us." The truth stung. In striving for success, he had buried the discontent, never acknowledging what he left behind. "I thought I had to prove myself," he admitted, his heart aching. "I thought success meant being away from what I loved." His mother reached across the table, her hand warm and familiar against his. "You could never prove your worth through distance, Jack. Family is everything." Those words echoed in his mind, bouncing off the walls of his heart, where he had locked away so much his love for them, his own vulnerabilities, memories too painful to confront. "I want to change that," he said, his voice steady now. "I want to be here. I want to help others like Mia." Emily's eyebrows shot up, intrigued. "Like the girl from the rain? What is that about?" Jack took a deep breath, diving into the story. As he spoke about Mia's unwavering spirit, he saw the spark of interest in their eyes grow. He couldn't help but feel the warmth spread throughout the room, the barriers eroding just a little. When he finished, their expressions held a mixture of astonishment and curiosity. "You want to build a community center?" Emily asked, filling the silence with hope. "Yes." He knew this was a part of him that had lain dormant for too long. "But I can't do it alone. I need your help," our family shared. Jack could feel the shift. They were leaning into that connection. Could this be the bridge back to not only their family, but also the community he yearned to help? But just as the conversation sparked, a knock echoed through the doorway, a sound that felt foreboding. The smiles faded slightly, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Who else was here to disrupt this moment of reconciliation? Jack's heart raced. Was it friend or foe? He needed to find out. Jack exchanged uneasy glances with Emily and their mother, each eyeing the door as if it might explode at any moment. The warm atmosphere at the table shifted, almost freezing. He felt the breath catch in his throat, a mixture of fear and adrenaline thrumming through his veins. "Who could that be?" Emily whispered, her brow furrowing with concern. "I don't know," Jack replied, shaking off the tension in his shoulders. "But we should check." Tentatively, he rose from the table, his heart thumping louder with every step toward the front door. As he reached for the handle, he could hear the faint rhythm of his own breathing. He swung the door open, revealing a tall figure standing on the porch, shrouded in twilight shadows. "Hey, Jack." The voice was like a bolt from the blue, deep and familiar. It was Aaron, Jack's childhood friend, his presence both a comfort and a reminder of all that had been. They had once been inseparable, dreams shared under the stars. But time and choices had driven a wedge between them. "Aaron." Jack's voice faltered, surprise evident in his tone. "What are you?" "I was in the neighborhood," Aaron said, though Jack could tell he was eager to say more. His eyes darted past Jack, searching for the family he hadn't seen in years. "I heard you were back." A pregnant pause hung in the air. Jack realized he had to invite him in. Yeah, come in." He stepped aside, feeling a surge of vulnerability. As Aaron entered, Jack caught the glances exchanged between him and Emily. There was a mixture of memories, unasked questions, and unsaid apologies. "Dinner's almost ready," their mother chimed in, breaking the silence. "We don't have enough plates, but Mom, it's fine," Jack interrupted, trying to mask his rising panic. "Aaron can stay." The atmosphere shifted again, a complicated dance of feelings as they all settled back at the table, awkward silences replacing the warmth. Jack caught Emily's eye, pleading for support, but she simply looked confused. "What have you been up to, man?" Aaron asked, his voice friendly but edged with formality. "You really disappeared." Jack's heart sank at the words disappeared, just as he had felt. He opened his mouth to respond, but the memories flooded in endless nights spent chasing success in the city, shutting out calls and texts, focusing solely on his career. Just busy. You know how it is. Yeah, Aaron said, nodding slowly. We felt abandoned, Jack. The words struck like a slap, and Jack felt the heat rise to his face. I didn't mean to, he stammered, unsure. How could he explain? I thought I needed to grow, to make something of myself. You could have done that with us, too. Aaron's eyes darkened, a mixture of disappointment and understanding swirling in them. We just wished you'd come home more. Jack's throat felt constricted. I know I should have. I'm sorry, he whispered, feeling the weight of his regrets pressing down on him. He glanced at Emily, who was staring at him wide-eyed, absorbing their conversation. Just then, a tremor of laughter echoed down the hallway. It was his younger brother, Ben, chasing after a giggling Mia, the girl from the ring. The laughter sliced through the tension, reminding Jack of the innocence he had left behind in his pursuit of success. But Mia's energy was contagious, and for a moment, he almost smiled. Just then, she rounded the corner and reached his side, her small hand clutching tightly onto Ben's shirt. Jack, is it true that we are going to build a place where all kids can play together? Jack knelt down, meeting her wide, hopeful gaze. Yes, Mia, we are. But I need your help. He couldn't help but grin at her enthusiasm. That's amazing, Mia exclaimed, her face lighting up. Everyone needs a home, especially kids like me. As her words washed over him, something clicked within Jack. Here was an opportunity not just to rebuild connections with his family, but to create something that could invigorate the entire community. Aaron's presence felt heavy now, watching as pieces began falling into place again. Would he understand? Would he support Jack's vision? Or would old resentments rear their heads? As a question hung in the air, someone knocked again, almost eager this time, a different urgency coursing through those sound waves as the door rattled against its frame. Jack turned, a mix of apprehension and hope washing over him. What awaited them this time? Would it be another connection to the home he had once turned away from, or a new challenge that could shake everything he had just started to rebuild? Jack's heart raced again as he walked back to the door, the eager knock still echoing in his mind. He hesitated at the threshold, glancing back at the kitchen where Emily and Aaron sat, their expressions forming an uneasy blend of curiosity and tension. He grasped the doorknob, his palms slick with sweat. Taking a breath to steady himself, he pulled the door wide open. This time, it was two unfamiliar faces, a man and a woman, both wearing worn clothes, carrying a little girl cradled against the man's shoulder. They looked like they'd walked a long way, their eyes clouded with exhaustion, yet somehow hopeful. Excuse us, the man said, his voice gravelly but gentle. We were hoping you could help us. We're looking for shelter for the night. Jack felt a knot tighten in his gut. He had just begun to reclaim a sense of belonging within his family, and now this? Looking into their tired expressions, he felt an overwhelming urge to help, yet a flicker of fear darted through him, uncertain of how much more he could handle right now. His gaze shifted to Mia, still standing at his side. She was watching the newcomers with wide, innocent eyes. They looked sad, she whispered, tugging gently on Jack's sleeve. Can we help them? The room fell silent as everyone turned their attention to Jack, awaiting his response. Memories of his own isolated journey swirled in his thoughts. He had fought against so much just to return home, but how could he close the door on those who needed it more? He stammered, feeling the weight of anticipation. Come in. As he stepped aside, the couple entered. Jack noticed the little girl, her small face was hidden, buried into her father's shoulder. The woman snapped a quick glance at Jack's family, her eyes filled with gratitude and uncertainty. Thank you, the woman said softly, her voice trembling. This means everything to us right now. Please, take a seat, their mother offered, her tone instantly warm and welcoming. It felt like an anchor in the storm swirling around them. Jack remained near the door, tension still coiling in his chest, as they settled uncertainly at the table. As the couple settled in, Jack watched Mia approach them, her youthful warmth contrasting with the chill in the air. What is her name? She asked, pointing to the little girl, who still seemed reluctant to lift her head. Her name is Lily, the man replied, his voice thick as emotion clawed at the edges. She has been through a lot lately. Jack noticed the way the child's fingers curled into her father's shirt, and an ache welled up inside him. You're safe now, Lily, he said gently. We want you to feel at home. It seemed as though the child could sense his sincerity. Slowly, she lifted her head, revealing large, wide eyes rimmed with unshed tears. For an instant, as their eyes met, an unspoken connection blossomed between them. In that moment, Jack felt a rush of something deeper, compassion, instant and raw. Aaron cleared his throat, breaking the tension. What happened, if you don't mind us asking? The couple shared their story: displacement, job loss, dreams crushed under the weight of an uncertain world. Jack listened intently, feeling their struggle resonate deep within. This feeling, he realized, was both a painful reminder of his own past, yet a guiding light for the future he wanted to shape. As the conversation unfolded, warmth began to bloom among them. It was more than small talk, it was a shared understanding. Moments passed wrapped in empathy, where every word exchanged was a bridge building, a homecoming of sorts. Mia, never missing an opportunity to connect, finally said, "Can we all help build a playground together? Everyone needs a place to play." Her joyful spirit seemed to pull the room together, laughter mixing with tears, filling the void of heaviness that lingered. The woman smiled through her tears. "Yes, we'd love to help." Jack's heart soared at the budding look of hope ignited within their eyes. They were all part of something greater now. Yet, as he looked at his family and then back to the couple, he felt something shift once again. The opening of this new chapter promised hope, but also uncertainty. Would this new connection hold? Would they truly be able to build that playground, that shelter for others in need, and make a lasting change? Before he could voice the thought, the doorbell rang for a third time, authoritative and demanding. Who could that be now? The chilling ring of the doorbell pierced through the room like a thunderclap. Jack's heart jumped again, the anticipation thickening the air. Was this a sign? Was help arriving? Or was it trouble coming to test their newly formed bond? He exchanged worried glances with Emily. Her expression mirrored his, concern mingled with a flicker of excitement. "Should we answer it?" she asked quietly, the voice barely above a whisper. Jack swallowed hard, faced with the weight of his decision once more. The newly arrived couple shifted uncomfortably in their seats, glancing from the door to Jack, as if sensing the tension. "Maybe it's something important?" the woman suggested, her voice quivering slightly. "Maybe it's shelter for us," the man added, his desperation barely concealed. Mia stood near the entrance, undeterred and curious. "Maybe it's more friends. We can all play together," she exclaimed, her big eyes shimmering with hope. Taking a deep breath, Jack stepped toward the door, his hand trembling slightly as he gripped the doorknob. He opened it slowly, the hinges creaking in protest. Standing there was a young woman, drenched from the rain, her face a blend of urgency and relief. "I'm so glad I found you," she said, her voice breathless. "I heard from someone earlier about your home, and I need help. Is it safe to come in?" "Of course," Jack blurted out, stepping aside to allow her in. The woman appeared just as worn as the others, her clothes soaked and her hair clinging to her face. "Come in, please." As she entered, the warmth of the home enveloped her, but the chill of uncertainty still radiated from her demeanor. "What is going on?" Jack's voice was tentative, just above a whisper. "I didn't know who else to turn to," she began, her words tumbling out in a rush. "My sister has been missing for days. I have searched everywhere, and I thought maybe you guys could help. I heard you have an open heart, and I've been told you care about finding people." Jack felt a jolt of empathy rip through him, the memories of his own lost days flooding back. The faces of the couple seated at the table reflected horror and shared concern, all while Mia remained visibly confused, trying to grasp the depth of the emotional turmoil swirling around her. "What is your sister's name?" the man asked, standing tall despite the emotions coursing through the room. "Her name is Sarah," the woman replied, her voice trembling again. "And she has a little girl, a toddler named Emily. They were last seen in our neighborhood." Mia's eyes widened. "I know an Emily," she exclaimed, her face brightening for the briefest moment. "Is she lost too?" the woman asked, hope flaring in her eyes. Jack felt the air shift, a knot of fate tightening in the room as the thread of connection weaved further. What if it was the same Emily? What if they could help find not just a person, but the key to healing their community? "A different Emily," Jack replied gently, "but your Emily can't be lost alone. We'll help you find her." The room fell silent. Jack realized that this was more than a mere request for assistance. It was a call to action, a chance for them all to come together, not only for themselves, but for those still searching for safety, those whose hope lingered just out of reach. "Let's figure this out, together," he said with resolve, casting a hopeful glance around the table. And just as urgency and determination began to create a bond between them, a loud crash outside jolted everyone, drawing their attention to the window. "What was that?" Emily gasped, her sharp intake of breath setting off a wave of fear. With hearts racing, they exchanged glances, all wondering what new challenge awaited them. Would this be another turn in their complicated journey toward connection? Jack took one final breath before moving toward the window, ready to face whatever awaited them outside. Jack pulled back the curtain, heart pounding against his chest, and looked out into the downpour. The rain hammered the streets, a curtain of water tapping against the window like frantic fingers. And there it was, a clatter, followed by an unsettling silence from outside. A small group had gathered, soaked and huddled together, their faces obscured by the shadows of the evening. "Who are they?" Emily whispered, stepping closer to Jack. "I don't know," he replied, squinting to see better. He turned to the woman they had just welcomed. "Do you recognize them?" The woman shook her head, anxiety etched all over her face. "I don't know anyone who'd be out in this weather." "It's too dangerous." As Jack stood there, torn between fear and concern, Mia tugged at his arm. "Can we help them, Jack?" They look cold. Her innocence pierced through the tension, a small glimmer of compassion in a moment thick with uncertainty. "Maybe we can at least check on them? Make sure they're okay?" Jack suggested, weighing the options in his mind. The risk was clear, but so was the responsibility they now bore. Emily reached for his hand, her grip trembling slightly. "I think we should. What if someone needs us?" With a nod, Jack looked around the room. "All right, let us do this. But let us be careful." He opened the door again, letting the wind rush past him, and stepped out into the deluge, motioning for Emily and Mia to stay close. The other couple followed hesitantly, their faces pale with worry. As they approached the group, he could make out their features, huddled bodies, faces pinched with weariness, a blend of fear and hope. "Are you all right?" Jack called out, his voice barely audible over the rain. One of them, a young man with dark circles under his eyes, stepped forward. "We're looking for shelter. We heard there might be a safe place nearby." His voice cracked with desperation. Jack exchanged glances with Emily. He felt the weight of responsibility settle in his gut. "You can come inside. We have room. But you have to promise to respect the space. Things are complicated right now." The young man nodded vigorously, relief washing over his features. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Jack signaled them in, and when they were all safely inside, he could see the weariness etched on their faces. They were not just cold from the rain. They were weary from fear, uncertainty, or worse. Once everyone was settled, Jack closed the door, another barrier against the unknown. He could feel the collective breath ease within the room, vulnerability now filling the space. "Can we get you anything? Blankets, something warm to drink?" Emily chimed in, her nurturing spirit evident despite the weight of the unknown. "Water would be great," the young woman answered timidly, her eyes darting nervously in each direction. They bustled about, exchanging whispered conversations about where they could go from here. Jack pulled the new arrival, the sister searching for Sarah, aside. "What is your plan?" he asked quietly. "I don't have one," she confessed, tears shimmering in her eyes. "I just thought, maybe if I found others, we could connect the dots. I just need to find her. She can't be lost forever." Jack felt a deeper understanding sink in. The urgency mounted as he recognized that everyone present was searching for something, whether safety, clarity, or a loved one. Before he could respond, another crash boomed from outside, heavier this time, echoing through the house like a warning bell. Jack's heart sank. "What now?" Mia whispered, the fear in her voice palpable. He glanced at the door, the shadows just outside it seeming to loom larger. "I don't know, but we need to prepare for whatever that might mean." Would this night bring them closer to their loved ones, or unravel everything they had tried to piece together? Jack steeled himself, aware that the storm outside was only part of the chaos surrounding them. As they moved towards the window again to see what had changed, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just a prelude to an even greater test of their strength and unity. Jack pressed his forehead against the cold glass, heart racing. The rain continued to pour in relentless torrents, masking any sounds from the outside world except for the ominous bangs and flashes of lightning that illuminated the darkness in fractured moments. What was that? Emily's voice was barely above a whisper, a mixture of fear and confusion coloring her tone. Jack turned away from the window, taking a deep breath. I don't know, let us just stay calm. He glanced at the group they had taken in. They looked even more fragile than before, shadows of their former selves. The young man who had been their spokesperson stared at the door, a mix of anxiety and anger flickering across his features. Do you think they're out there? The ones who hurt us? He asked, his voice shaking slightly. I don't know, Jack said, trying to keep his voice steady. But we need to think of a plan, just in case. As he surveyed the room, Jack saw Mia huddled close to Emily, clutching her stuffed bear tightly. It was heartbreaking to see her innocence challenged by the chaos surrounding them. He knelt down to her level. Hey, sweetheart, can you do me a favor? Mia looked up with wide eyes, nodding eagerly. Can you check on everyone? Make sure they have what they need? We're all in this together, right? Okay, she chirped, her voice a small beacon of light. Jack smiled at her, though his heart felt heavy. Jack turned back to the group, feeling the weight of his words. Listen, I know things feel scary right now, but we're going to get through this together. We need to be vigilant. What if? The young woman interjected, her voice shaking. What if whoever is out there comes for us? Jack stepped closer, trying to shield her with his presence. We'll be ready. We have time. He met the fear in her eyes with a steadiness he didn't fully feel. Seconds ticked by in the tense silence. Just as his mind began to settle into an uneasy rhythm, another loud crash echoed from outside. The lights in the room flickered ominously, casting long shadows across the walls. What was that? Mia squeaked, jumping closer to Emily. Jack clenched his fists. I don't know. We need to. Before he could finish, he heard a faint cry, a child's voice just outside. Help, please. Someone help. Jack's heart dropped. He exchanged a glance with Emily. In her eyes, he could see the desperate hope mirrored back at him. We have to see who it is, he said firmly. We can't leave a child out there. The group hesitated, fear taking hold. The young man from before frowned and clenched his jaw. We can't just go out into that storm. You don't even know if it's a trap. Something snapped in Jack. It might not be a trap. It could be a child in trouble. He was losing patience, the stakes rising as tension thickened the air. What if it is just a distraction? One of the other newcomers interjected, his voice low but firm. Emily placed her hand on Jack's arm. We should think this through. If we go out there, we have to be smart about it. But Jack was already moving toward the door, determination pulling him onward. I can't ignore that voice. We can't turn our backs on someone who needs help. He twisted the doorknob and stepped outside, rain soaking him instantly. The echo of the plea rang in his ears above the storm, the call of someone reaching for hope. Jack! Emily called after him, but he was already stepping further into the night. Driven by a sense of urgency, he couldn't shake. Stay close, he called back, but even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. Was he leading them to safety or into a trap? The piercing wind whipped around him, but Jack pressed on, heart hammering louder than the thunder above. As he drew closer to where the voice had come from, he felt a chill running down his spine. If it was a trap, they were walking right into it. But he couldn't silence the voice inside telling him he had to go. What if this was their chance to save someone, to connect pieces of their fractured lives together? In that stormy night, secrets lurked, and every step forward felt like a leap into the unknown. Just as he rounded a corner, the ground beneath him crunched unnaturally. Jack's heart raced anew as he gasped. Before him were not just shadows of lost souls, but something else entirely, something much darker, was trailing behind them, watching, waiting. Would they find just another lost soul in need, or something much worse lurking in the shadows? The air was thick with anticipation as Jack stumbled forward, the echoes of thunder rumbling behind him. The cries had gone silent, leaving only the relentless patter of rain as the world around him grew darker. The shadows played tricks on his eyes, twisting reality and igniting every inch of his being with a blend of fear and resolve. Is anyone there? He called out, his voice cracking. He braced himself against a brick wall, every instinct screaming at him to turn back. But he couldn't. Not now. The thought of a child trapped in the storm filled him with purpose that in the distance. he saw a small figure crouched beside a broken tree. "Help, please." It was the voice he had heard earlier, frail like a whisper, yet piercing through the chaos around him. "Over here," Jack shouted, taking a hesitant step closer, the ground squelching beneath his feet. He blinked through the rain, trying to make sense of the blurred outline. There was movement. The figure shifted, and Jack's pulse quickened as the little girl turned towards him. Mud dripped from her hair. Her clothes clung to her skin, but her eyes burned bright wide and filled with desperation. "Mia?" Jack's heart leaped as he found the courage to continue. "It's okay. I'm here. What is your name?" "Annie," she replied, her voice barely audible over the storm. "Please help. My puppy he is stuck." Jack swallowed hard, the weight of her words hitting him like a physical blow. A puppy. Beneath the muffled chaos, he felt a rush of renewed determination. "Where is he, Annie? Show me." As she pointed deeper into the woods, lightning illuminated the area for just a moment, the scene becoming stark and chilling. Jack breathed in the damp air filled with the scent of wet earth and impending dread, feeling the weight of not only Annie's fear, but the temptation of the unseen darkness around them. He knelt down beside her. "Can you walk? Can you stay close?" Annie nodded, clutching his hand with a small, desperate grip. Together, they moved forward, the rain threatening to drown out any hope they could muster. As they ventured deeper, Jack thought about Emily and the others left behind. Were they safe? Would they even know he was gone? This wasn't how he had planned things. He was supposed to be the steady one, the protector, but the visions of safety and calm were drowned out as they stumbled onto more horror. The twisted roots of trees jutted out like fingers grasping desperately for escape. Jack suddenly realized the path was becoming more treacherous with every step. The shadows around them felt alive, slithering like creeping vines, closing in on their fragile hope. "Jack, I can't find him," Annie cried out, panic threatening to overwhelm her. "Just a little further," Jack reassured her, gripping her hand a bit tighter. The urgency of the moment gripped him like the storm around them. He had to push through, for her sake and for the others who waited. As they reached a clearing, they found the source of the cries. A small, trembling puppy was wedged between two branches, whimpering in fear. "There!" Annie squealed, breaking free from Jack's grasp and racing toward it, her eyes wide with hopeful determination. "Annie, wait!" Jack shouted, but it was too late. In her eagerness, she slipped. The ground was slick, and before he could reach her, she went tumbling, landing in a patch of mud, her scream piercing through the night. "Annie!" With adrenaline pumping through him, Jack lunged forward, heart racing as he caught her arm just before she could disappear into the shadows. The puppy remained trapped, helpless, and now they were running out of time. As he pulled Annie close, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay hidden behind the trees was closing in. They were no longer just facing a storm. They were on the edge of something far more dangerous. Fighting to keep his composure, Jack looked into Annie's frightened eyes. "We will get you both out of here. I promise. But we need to work together." And just like that, as the storm raged and whispers of darkness lingered, Jack felt a shift. All of a sudden, the choices ahead of them became clearer, but what would he be sacrificing to keep that promise? As he turned back toward the crying puppy, determination surged within him. The tether of hope wasn't just for Annie anymore. It had grown, preparing to face whatever shadows awaited them. They were deeper in the woods, darkness encroaching. Jack steeled himself, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. But one question remained: would they escape the storm, or would they become part of the shadows? Jack took a deep breath, shaking off the lingering shadows of doubt. With Annie by his side, he stared at the puppy, its whines seeming to beckon them closer. "Stay right here, Annie," he instructed, letting go of her hand. He stepped cautiously toward the branches, aware of the slippery ground beneath him. The rain poured heavier now, each drop echoing his worries. The branches were dense, entangled like the fears rising within him. "It's okay, buddy," he called softly to the trapped puppy, coaxing it in a gentle tone. When he reached the dog, he could see its wide eyes swirling with panic, paws clawing at the branches in futile desperation. Jack's heart ached. He bent low, his fingers slick with mud as they searched for a way to free the small creature. "Hold on, little guy," he whispered, focusing on the knot of branches blocking the puppy. The storm raged louder, almost as if warning him to retreat. But he couldn't. Not now. Not when a little life depended on him. Annie watched anxiously, fear still etched across her face. "Please, Jack. I want my puppy." Her small voice was like a dagger, piercing through the ominous sound of the storm. "I know, Annie. Just let me get him," Jack shouted back, fighting the cold water that seeped into his clothes. With a determined yank, he freed a small section of the branches. The puppy squirmed, its little body trembling from fear. "Almost there," Jack encouraged, heart pounding with urgency. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath him, a slick mass threatening to send him tumbling down. With every ounce of will, he steadied himself, focused on the task at hand. "Come on," he murmured as he wriggled the puppy free from the last of the branches. With one final push, the puppy slipped from its prison straight into Jack's waiting arms. He swung around, relief flooding through him as he held the shivering pup against his chest. "I got him, Annie. I got him," Jack exclaimed, relief spilling over as he turned. But then, his excitement faded the moment he saw her. Annie was staring, eyes wide and vacant, as though she couldn't quite grasp the scene before her. "Jack, behind you," she whispered, voice shaking. He felt a chill run down his spine. Slowly, he looked back, dread gripping at his heart. The shadows that had once flickered in the distance were now gathering together, a mass of shapes shifting among the trees. Cold wind whipped through the clearing, whispers rising in a chilling choir, sending shivers through Jack's bones. "Annie, we need to go. Now." He charged toward her, puppy still cradled against him, as panic surged through him. Annie didn't move. She stood there, frozen, eyes glued to the creeping shadows closing in around them. "Annie." Jack reached her just as the first bolt of darkness lunged forward, a thick tendril stretching like a hand. Instinct kicked in. "Run," he shouted, grabbing her wrist with one hand while clutching the puppy with the other. They broke into a sprint, Jack's heart racing furiously as they hurried through the trees. The storm raged around them, rain mixing with the cries and haunting whispers that filled the air. Annabelle stumbled, and he tightened his grip, pulling her closer as they burst through the thicket. "Why aren't they giving up?" Jack panted, tears mixing with the rain on his cheeks. "Don't look back." But could they really fight off what was coming? Was it just the storm, or something more sinister? As they reached the edge of the woods, Jack stumbled onto solid ground, and for a moment, he felt hope rising within him. Was it over? Was it safe? But then, a looming figure appeared in the darkness, blocking their way, and Jack's heart sank. "Jack!" Annie cried out, looking up at him with fear dominating her features. Just when they thought they could escape, something far worse awaited them. And Jack had to make a choice: face the darkness or fight for what little light they had left. Would they be able to outsmart the shadows that were closing in, or had they unwittingly entered into a battle that would change everything about their lives forever? With steady determination, Jack stood firm against the looming figure. Fear clawed at him, but so did the resolve to protect Annie and the small puppy trembling in his arms. "Stay behind me," he whispered, gripping her tiny hand as a shield between her and the encroaching darkness. The figure shifted closer, a shadow of uncertainty pulsating around it, oozing shapes like a thick fog. Jack felt Annie cling tighter to him, her small fingers digging into his side. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he could muster. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice trembling yet defiant. "What do you want?" The figure stepped into the brief flash of lightning, revealing a face Jack recognized from his past, the worries and doubts he'd believed he could leave behind. It was Aaron, his childhood friend, but twisted by trauma and pain. The years of separation had disguised him as a specter, forever lost between light and darkness. Aaron's voice sliced through the tension, soft yet alluring. "You think you can save everyone? You'll fail just like you did before now." Jack shouted defiantly, fueled by the urgency of the moment. He felt the warmth of his family behind him, the laughter of Mia echoing in the storm, the faces of all those who had suffered in silence. "I won't let fear stop me anymore." And as if an unseen hand had lifted the darkness momentarily, those familiar voices rose. He could hear Emily's laughter, their mother's warm embrace, and the echoes of his family connecting once again. "Jack!" they urged, their energy intertwining with his, pushing him forward. The shadows seemed to waver, flickering like a candle in the wind. Jack took a step forward, clutching Annie's hand tight, and shouted, "You may be part of my past, but you don't own my future." He could feel the tide turning, a swell of light rising within his chest. Aaron's expression cracked. "But you don't know what it's like," Jack interrupted, heart pounding. "I do. I've lost sight of my family and community in this chase for success. I've turned away from love and connection. But that ends here." The storm roared around them, but Jack stood resolute, a beacon amid the chaos. "You're not the only one who has fought hard, Aaron. Look at the courage it takes to reach out." Annie squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his words. Suddenly, the dark figure faltered and the shadows started to dissipate. And then, without warning, the air was filled with the sound of laughter, the laughter of Mia, Ben, and their mother returning to the warmth of that home Jack had vowed to rebuild. "You're not alone, Jack." The firm voices called out from all around, echoing off the boughs of the trees. Others from the community, those they had invited in, moved closer, each carrying a torch of hope, brighter than the storm outside. They encircled Jack and Annie, reminding them they were part of something larger. Jack could feel his heart swell with newfound connection. They formed a protective circle, a living wall against the darkness. And suddenly, the storm that once felt like a relentless adversary transformed. "Let us go home," Jack shouted over the roaring wind, his voice confident now. It wasn't just about running away from shadows. It was about reclaiming the light they all had within. With renewed purpose, Jack led Annie, the puppy, and the others out of the clearing and back towards safety. Breathless laughter replaced fear as they pressed onward, the shadows shrinking behind them, their binding power dissolving against the emerging love and hope. As they exited the woods, the rain began to lessen, revealing a break in the clouds, a reminder of dawn breaking through darkness. "We did it!" Annie exclaimed, her joy contagious, even amidst the soggy chaos that lay in the distance. Jack could see the warm lights of his family's home welcoming them back. He turned to the group, the weary souls they had rescued, and felt gratitude so strong it nearly took his breath away. "We're going to build something amazing together," he declared, surrounded by fierce nods and smiles that had shifted from despair to determination. They stepped inside, and Jack felt the warmth envelop him, a tangible echo of the laughter and safety he had long surrendered. That night would signal a transformation not just within him, but within everyone. They would create a community where not only homes were built, but hearts were, too. Jack finally understood that success wasn't measured by wealth or isolation, but by the love and compassion that flowed back to the ones who mattered the most. As the fire flickered, illuminating the gathering around the table, Jack felt whole for the first time. With each shared story, each bond forged, they were weaving a family again around the table, around Mia's laughter and all of the dreams that lay ahead. Jack knew they would thrive together, for they had chosen hope over shadows. Now go ahead and act. You need to subscribe now to join us on this incredible journey. Hit that like button now to help feed this channel's growth. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts and emotions about this ending. It truly means the world. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the strength of community and love.